What are the primary user experience issues with ebooks?
Gosh, I'm not sure where to begin.
I'm sure it's a list, right? It's a big list.
It's a huge list. There's like the obvious things. There's difficulties in navigation, the kind of things that probably everyone dealing with the books right now is thinking about. But I'm really more concerned about issues about cross-channel usability and other aspects of user experience. When you're trying to take your book or your book-like app and integrate it with big sets of data or drafts that might be on a website or any of these other types of experiences that should be relevant to someone consuming a book, you're going to inevitably cross channels. We don't really know how to do that. I mean, service design is really an emerging field that you could sort of say is part of user experience that is hopefully going to give us some of those answers, but it's emergent so early on. So the cross-channel aspects, I think, are going to be the biggest problems. And until the kind of basic aspects of user experience and navigation and readability and things like that are stabilized, it's really kind of hard to start building across channels.
Should user experience be determined by the publisher or the device manufacturer? Right now, it seems like a lot of it's being determined by the device.
It's really hard as a publisher. It's really hard as a publisher if you're dependent on the device makers. And then that's discounting really maybe the most important party who should be involved in determining it, which is the user. And I think that's one of the things that are also still working out is how to share those. There's at least, maybe 3 or 4 parties that should be sharing ownership of the user experience. So the author as well, the community of readers, the publisher, the device makers. I think the lines are necessarily going to have to be blurry. I'm not sure they're ever really going to stabilize. I think the bigger issue is people, all 4 of those, basically both acknowledging they have some ownership, that they have a role, but also acknowledging that that role is going to be shifting.
What's your take on ebooks versus those ebook-like apps that are out there now?
I think it's kind of good to have both, and I think we're always going to have both. I think we need certain dependable, I hate to use the term standards, but certain books are going to have to work in a certain way for most people and for most books. You just need to know how to use them without having to figure each one of them out. Most books will conform to that, but the beauty of now is that we can start really pushing the boundaries, and that's where the apps are going to come in. So when you are going to be doing the type of cross-channel integration I was talking about before, where you're tapping into big data, for example, we don't know how to design that. We're just going to have to try. We're just going to have to see what the apps do for us. So I think we have to have both.
Would you see that boundary pushing coming on the app side as opposed to the more traditional ebook side?
I think the good apps are actually going to allow the content creators to do the pushing. I think right now a lot of that is coming from the app manufacturers, the app developers. But yeah, I think the smart app developers are going to really enable the authors with help from the reader communities to really push functionality. So they're going to really work more as platforms than apps.
Okay, so last question for you. Do you have a device preference yourself?
Well, it's still print.
No kidding.
That's right.
Wow.
It's still print. But we publish our books in PDF and EPUB and Mobi, and I still, if I have to read digitally, it's the iPad. It's a bit distracting because there's about 1,000 other things that you can do on that device, which is a bit of a problem.
Sure.
That's it.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.